When we think about the most famous evolutionary line in monster taming history, the focus almost always skips the middle. We remember the wide-eyed, innocent starter lizard, and we obsess over the massive, fire-breathing dragon it eventually becomes. Charmeleon is left sitting in the middle, largely overshadowed. So we went to the official corporate-run database to pull some routine biological trivia on it. The goal was to look at standard, sanitized data: height, weight, basic behaviors. Instead, the database locked out the request entirely. The server threw a severe security error. Request unsuccessful. Encapsula incident ID 4700-1203-9366-8816-8362-488-5859-169-537. A corporate-level security block for a mid-stage fire lizard makes zero sense. There is no strategic military advantage to knowing a Charmeleon's dietary habits. To figure out what is actually being hidden behind that firewall, we have to bypass the official site entirely. We have to dive into the unsanitized, early-generation archival records. The corporate brand curates a very safe, marketable image of their creatures. To understand what this specific creature actually is, we have to look past the marketing and examine the volatile biology they apparently want buried. The earliest decrypted data logs focus on the creature's tail flame. In its pre-evolutionary state, that flame is a steady, manageable indicator of life. But evolution drastically alters its underlying chemistry. When the creature becomes agitated or enraged, the chemical composition of the fire physically changes, spiking from a standard orange to a blinding bluish-white. This chart compares the heat output of a standard orange flame against a bluish-white flame. Reaching that spectrum requires an exponential temperature spike. The biological logs indicate a flaw. That thermal output radiates directly back into its own nervous system, causing severe physical discomfort. Its legendary, uncontrollable aggression is a direct biological reality. It lashes out because it is experiencing the extreme thermodynamics of burning from the inside out. That physical pain translates directly into a horrifying combat psychology. We see this documented in early, uncensored field logs written long before public relations teams sanitized the text. Its combat style relies heavily on massive physical force. It uses its thick, muscled tail to violently batter opponents, shattering the terrain around them. But the detail scrubbed from modern records occurs after the opponent is knocked down. The archives note that it will mercilessly use its razor-sharp claws to tear apart foes that have already been defeated. The researchers who originally documented this behavior noted a specific, disturbing psychological trait. It is one of the few entities explicitly observed taking active pleasure in the suffering of the creatures it fights. A creature driven by pain to become a sadistic, ruthless fighter presents a massive liability for a modern franchise trying to sell a family-friendly image, which brings up the problem of how you control something like that. Trainer disobedience is frequently portrayed as an anime storytelling trope, a quirky plot device, but the archival data outlines it as a strict, quantifiable biological mechanic. This line graph illustrates the problem. The bottom line tracks a handler's linear growth in authority. The top line tracks the creature's combat power. At evolution, that power surges upward. If it exceeds the handler's authority, it instantly rejects commands and turns hostile. It is the literal embodiment of uncontrollable adolescent power, an aggressive force actively and violently rejecting inadequate authority. All of this brings the investigation back to that encapsula error code from the beginning. The firewall blocking the database makes perfect sense. A modern corporation has every reason to obscure the biological reality of a creature defined by excruciating thermal pain, sadistic violence, and inherent rebellion. This evolutionary stage is largely dismissed as a temporary, awkward phase you have to sit through to get to the powerful final form. But the data reveals it to be a crucible. It is the most dangerous, unfiltered, and demanding phase of a handler's journey, a trial designed to determine if they are actually capable of command. The database block inadvertently pointed us toward a forgotten foundational truth. Beneath the plush toys and the sanitized marketing, these entities are ultimately dangerous, unpredictable monsters.